Let's start with a few opening remarks that suggest why we're here. We live on a planet stocked with billions of people who represent an uncountable number of different cultures and subcultures. Inevitably, by chance or purpose, conflicts break out between these different peoples. The conflicts between the conflicts between and among our own peoples are as threatening to the quest for a true democracy as they have ever been. It's for that reason we need more than ever to find a common language that will contribute to a revived understanding of what it means, what we mean by the common good. And that work begins with gaining a deeper understanding of one's own culture in one's own community. And that is why, for your enjoyment, the Depot is happy to present in alphabetical order the three outstanding poets who will contribute, each in their own unique ways, to the communal search for a common language in pursuit of the common good. They will share with you and each other how we try to arm ourselves with humor to navigate the ups and downs, celebrations and despairs in the struggle for an examined life in pursuit of peace, love, and understanding. Let me take a moment to, for those of you who haven't been here before, let me give you a rundown of how the evening operates. The poems will be read in three six-minute rounds. Each poet, again in alphabetical order, will read singly, one after another at the podium for each of the three rounds. I will read the bio of each reader to introduce them for their first round. After the first round, the poets will follow each other one by one with no further introduction through the last two rounds. And in a moment, I'm going to go get my bios. And do the job right. Alan Berecka. According to Microsoft's Copilot, is an acclaimed American poet whose work deftly blends humor, storytelling, and insight into everyday life, and the author of several poetry collections, including Atlas Sighs, New and Selected Poems, The Hamlet of Stitville, and Living is Not a Life, a working title. His poems have appeared in numerous literary journals, including the American Literary Review. Currently, he is a regular contributor to the Texas Poetry Assignment and was included in Lamar University Press's poetry anthology, Southern Voices. Although a Texan, he is no stranger to Oklahoma poetry venues. So much so, the late, great Dorothy Alexander, bless her heart, dubbed him the Oklahoma Gulf Coast poet. Berecka's writing is celebrated for its wit and warmth, reflecting both the absurdities and joys of the human experience. He has a distinctive voice which invites us to see the world a little differently, one poem at a time. From 2017 to 2019, he served as the first poet laureate of Corpus Christi. Lastly, Berecka is not a huge believer in artificial intelligence, believing its findings often tend toward grandiosity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alan Berecka.
Thank you, folks. You guys know this is poetry, right? It's a great crowd. So Norman poetry royalty is all over the place, but former state poet laureate of Oklahoma, Nathan Brown, is here. And Nathan used to give these classes about how to give a poetry reading. And he always said, never start with a long poem. Nathan, I didn't know you were going to be here tonight. Thought I'd start with a love poem. It's called Angling with D.H. Lawrence. As an undergraduate, I was first drawn to him by the short introduction in our anthology that described him as the son of a refined woman and a lout. Our shared biography in a nutshell. The Junior Poet Project was the bane of English majors at my Catholic school. We were to pick one of Norton's poets, learn the poetry, the biography, the criticism, and then sit for an hour or more to be grilled by a panel of PhDs. The good students, in their need to impress, selected the expected: Dickinson, Donne, Browning, Auden, Yeats, Keats, Eliot, and Hopkins, of course. Poets the faculty knew well and could recite by their iambic beating hearts. But there are advantages, be they but a few, of being sired by a lout. My old man's greatest lesson came to mind. Angles, son. The secret is always to find the angle. I figured my chances for success lay in the areas of the faculty's ignorance. So I studied the ignored D.H. Lawrence, his understated diction, his debt to Whitman, his search for blood knowledge, wisdom not gained but found at the moment of climax. And it worked. I made one of two ways. Made an A studying a pagan's theory of sex at a Catholic U. Now how's that for a ricochet? But the biggest payoff came way down the road on a first date with a woman out of my league, but on the rebound. As we sat at the movies watching the always prowling Captain Kirk recite lines of poetry to his target, a perky marine biologist. They say the sea is cold, but the sea contains the hottest blood of all. I leaned to my date's ears and whispered, "That's from D.H. Lawrence's Whales Weep Not." Seconds later, the projected impressed biologist repeated what I had just whispered for all to hear. And for that one glorious moment, the desired woman seated to my right thought, "I'll be damned. Kinda ugly, but really smart." Even though I've proved her theory wrong 1,000 times over, we remain long wed. And I am still grateful for the secrets of fire taught by blood. So I offer this hymn of praise. God bless David Herbert Lawrence, ricochets, rebounds, and every angle well played. I always feel like a charlatan if I don't read some new poems. So this one is fairly new. It'll be up on the Texas Poetry Assignment this Sunday. It's called A Friend in Jesus. A chronic altar boy as a child, Jesus was an abstraction whipped up by priests on Sunday mornings. Recipe as follows. Start with wine, add a drop of water, elevate a host of wafer-thin bread, fold in an incantation or two. Smoke can be added for special occasions. Don't forget a sprinkling of synchronized bells. Say amen and let those pure enough to partake line up and kneel at a railing to offer their tongues. My wife knew a more personable Jesus, taught our kids songs like, "Jesus loves me, this I know, because the Bible tells me so." One day, after a long day at work, I walked into our living room and found our son on a PlayStation a generation or two newer than ours. I asked him, "Where did that come from?" He replied, "Jesus gave it to me." So I said, "Son, I'm not in the mood. Stop being a wise ass and answer me." He finally paused his game, looked up and repeated, "Dad, really? Jesus says he's got a newer one and he's okay with me using this one for as long as I want." "What? Dad, he's a friend from band." I thought I began to understand, so I said, "Son, it's pronounced Jesus." "No, Dad, really, he goes was by Jesus. At which point my wife appeared in way too good a humor and verified the story by saying, yep, Jesus Reyes, he's a great kid and a real hoot. Tired and feeling defeated yet again, I trudged off, lugging my inability to imagine any Jesus I could know.
Hank Jones has backpacked the world in his youth, hoping to find a poet within, until lack of funds prompted him to seek a job at his alma mater, Tarleton State University. He planned to stay a year or two and get back on the road, but 25 years later, he is an assistant professor at the same university. To keep his creative spirit alive and to hone his facility with the written word, he enrolled in the Red Earth MFA program at Oklahoma City University, from which he graduated in 2019. His poetry has been published in Cyber Salai, a literary journal, Voices de la Luna, Dragon Poet Review, the Concho River Review, and Red River Review. He's also contributed poems to the Great American Wise Ass Poetry Anthology from Lamar University Press. Speak Your Mind, Poems of Protest and Resistance, published by Village Press Books. The Stone Ringer Anthology from Tail Feathers Press. Bull Buffalo and Indian Paintbrush, The Poetry of Oklahoma, edited by Ron Wallace. And The Working Man's Hand, celebrating Woody Guthrie, Poems of Protest and Resistance, Fine Dogs Press, 2023. His first book of poetry, Too Late for Manly Hands, was published by Turning Plow Press in 2021. He now lives in a beautiful house overlooking Lake Keystone with his wife, Julie Chappell, and for 7 years drove 6 hours one way to teach his courses at Tarleton. He now teaches those same courses online, but is not sure it's an improvement. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Hank Jones.
So I sent that bio to Paul a couple of months ago, and I can confirm that teaching online is not only not an improvement, it's been the worst semester of my 25 years of teaching. I absolutely hate it. But I'll turn in my grades in 2 weeks and I will have survived. So there's that. But thank you for having me, Paul, the Depot. This is wonderful. I love this event in particular, of all the wonderful events we have around here. A few poems from a teacher's perspective, a few haiku, roughly speaking. 75 papers to grade, penance for some sin, punishment for some transgression. 75 papers to grade, pull my teeth out with rusty pliers. 75 papers to grade, I stare at the piles and I stare some more. 75 papers to grade, why didn't anyone warn me about this? 75 papers to grade, all I know of hell, all I need to know. 75 papers to grade, a beer first, then another. Graded a paper today, didn't know what to say. I'll try that again. Graded a paper today, didn't know what to say, laid on the floor and cried. Passing gas in my office. Why is that the only time students come by? Sitting in my office, I wonder if the sky's still blue. Another day teaching, all I can think of is another beer, another cigarette. Ice cold beer burns my throat as I swallow. I saw the students waiting in the hallway in attitudes of prayer, and realized they were just looking at their cell phones. True story, I walked in the building, they were all praying, and I was going, what in the world? I realized it. Beginning of the fall semester faculty meeting. These are all poems about when I actually went to Tarleton and taught it. I'm clearly missing that. That's the thing I missed the most about not teaching on campus. I didn't realize this was, the interaction with real students, obviously. I just have names now. They're not real people. They're just names. But it's also the hanging out with my colleagues in the hallway between classes, the camaraderie of being in a working environment. I didn't realize how much I missed that. So beginning of the fall semester faculty meeting. There's a lot of us here. The room's medium-sized and we fill most of the seats. We're a bit on the raucous side. I'd hate to be the one addressing us. But there she is, our department head, looking a bit nonplussed before she even opens her mouth. The news is mostly glum, but we mostly groan in silence. Our department head tells us we'll have to, quote, gird our loins in preparation for the battles ahead. She tells us at the same time, we also have to be aware that, quote, shit happens, and we've got to be prepared for this. I raise my hand, I'm called upon, and innocently ask, if we first gird our loins, then shit happens, does this mean we just shit our pants? Guffaws ensue. The department head, a natural comedian, rolls with the crowd. She wraps up the meeting by turning her back to us and facing us again. She's wearing a clown nose. More life to lead, more books to read. I have more books to read than I can read. Life is short, how short I cannot know. I have more life to live than I can lead. Wilt the stilt slept with 20,000 women. I've got some catching up to do. There's more life to live than I can lead. Thomas Wolfe read 20,000 books, devouring whole libraries in pursuit of his art. There are more books to read than I can read. I joined the backpack revolution when I was young, traveling around the world and back again. Found too much life instead, which I could not lead. My love of books preceded my first paying job. Since then, I've purchased every book I ever wanted, long since buying more books than I could ever read. The only thing I ever wanted was to be a poet, experiencing life more deeply than other men. But I discovered early to my chagrin, there were more books to read than I could read. There was more life to live than I could live. So I'm talking to this English girl, Oxford educated, beautiful, young. Shit, she's got it all. We're talking literature, and I'm doing my best to impress her. She says at one point, there are some writers you have to read everything they wrote to really understand them. I agree and start racking my brain going over all the books I've read. Surely there's some damn author I've read all the works of, at least some damn guy who didn't write too many books. Salinger comes to mind. But damn it, I never finished Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenter. So I'm coming up with nothing when she says, you know, like Tolstoy. And I gave up right there. Just gave up. I'm sitting, this is called a rash of children. I'm sitting in the doctor's office lobby, childless but surrounded by children. A rash erupting in vague patches everywhere on my body. If I had kids, we'd all be here today after our weekend on the river. My children, inheritors of my propensity to break out in a rash if I look at poison ivy. Almost 50, I've probably denied myself the knowledge of procreating and reproducing tiny versions of myself to run around in circles at my feet. My friend Walter, unmarried, no children, told me once about an affair with a beautiful married Korean student who became pregnant with his child and had to have an abortion before she could return to her home country to her waiting, unaware husband. Walter died a few years after this, leaving almost nothing behind. I wonder if in that realm he now resides, he regrets there's not a child here who bears some trace of him. I wonder if I'll regret someday my own choice not to have children. Right now, as I sit here itching, waiting to be squeezed in, I think I'd rather have my poison ivy rash, which at least can be cured and will only trouble me a short while.
Janice Francis-Smith is a writer. Yes, is a writer, poet, and singer-songwriter based in Oklahoma City. After 24, I'm not used to these. After 24 years as a news reporter and 15 journalism awards for her work, she now serves as managing editor of the Black Chronicle newspaper in Oklahoma City. She has been a Woody Guthrie poet 3 times, and her work is included in the anthology Ain't Gonna Be Treated This Way, published by Village Books Press. She is also a longtime co-coordinator of the last Sunday poetry reading at Full Circle Bookstore. As a songwriter, Janice has performed at the Walnut Valley Festival, the Woody Guthrie Festival, and the Kerrville Folk Festival. She has also performed at some of the premier listening rooms in the country, including the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, the Bitter End in New York City, Eddie's Attic in Decatur, Georgia, and the Blue Door in Oklahoma City. She has produced 4 full-length albums, winning several songwriting accolades and awards, including a Woody Guthrie Songwriting Contest Honorable Mention, first place in the Walnut Valley Songwriting Showcase, and a Posey Award from Empower Music and Arts. Please welcome Janice Francis-Smith.
For having me. Thank you all so much for being here. All right, I'm just going to do one because it's long. A poem for the aliens. On the radio, the poet Laureate is recounting how she wrote on commission a poem to be sent on a mission into space. Presumably, the aliens would read it and come to love us as we love her, our emissary, the family member we think will make the best impression on the out-of-towners. She admits she started too scientific, then veered into love and water. Our human bodies are made mostly of love and water. My husband, dead 8 years now, told me he saw alien spacecraft on 2 separate occasions in his teens in the late 70s, out in the quiet countryside of rural Oklahoma. Once, parked by the lake with his girlfriend, skin to skin, they were startled to see the silver disk skipping like a stone over the water, silent. Days later, the craft floated over an abandoned intersection, one of less than a handful of traffic signs scattered throughout the sleepy small town. He'd been heading home to his worried mother after an evening of drinking with his also underage friends when he saw it in the sky, and he got out of his truck and stood directly under it, broad and bright and silent, hovering in the dark expanse. Suddenly, his fascination turned into fear, and he fled, foot to pedal to floor, heading as fast as he could away from that otherworldly light. Everyone knew he smoked a lot of pot, so even his parents changed the subject every time he brought it up. They didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know what to make of the story when he told me, but I believed that he believed it. This year, in congressional hearings, sober military men raised their right hands and admitted what they have seen in the skies above our world, sworn testimony that sounded like science fiction. The news slipped in a few sound bites, in between other stories documenting the unreality that is real life right now. And most of us changed the subject, changed the channel, scrolled through the truth, searching for recipes or politics or TikTok dances. I have often wondered what I might say were I ever commissioned to write a poem by way of introduction to the aliens, how I might explain. They must be much more emotionally mature than we are if they've got to the point of exploring other worlds. We don't look like we'll ever get there, we're too busy fighting. Dear aliens, all right, we humans fight. We fight over space. Even though each of us can only occupy so much space with our bodies, we argue over the empty spaces too, not wanting other bodies to exist in the empty spaces around our bodies, or even in the empty spaces far away. We fight over what other humans do and say in their own skin sacs, even when they are far away, even when we can't even see them doing it. Our skin sacs come in slightly different shades, and we fight over that too. We fight over that a lot, probably the most. We argue over whether people with differently colored skin sacs are more or less human than other people with differently colored skin sacs, though I'm sure that to you, dear aliens, from the outside looking in, our shared humanity couldn't be more obvious. Humans fight with humans on the other side of the planet, with humans that have differently textured head fur, differently shaped eye holes, different ways of imagining the invisible. This makes us sound so stupid. Maybe I should tell the aliens something good about us. I could write about music. We make sounds in different pitches, arranged in a pattern, regulated by time. This is very pleasurable to us. And we move our limbs about in keeping with the pattern. People all over the planet do this, but some people get mad when people with differently colored skin sacs make the music, so we also fight about that. We put holes in each other's skin sacs and end each other's oh so short time on this planet. This poem is so embarrassing. When we were dating, my soon-to-be husband was reluctant to take me to his family reunion. Cousin Bubba would wear overalls and talk my ear off about nothing, he told me. Auntie with the blue bouffant would say something bitchy at best, racist at worst. Bunch of hillbillies, he'd say. Someone was bound to say something dumb. My future father-in-law laughed in the car all the way home, asking, after that, you still want to marry him? I did. I said, he was worth it. I believed in him. This is how I imagine it will be with the aliens. We're worth it, I would write in my poem by way of introduction. Some of us are good people, I say. Some of us are assholes. I don't know if you should take over and show us how to reach for the stars, or if I should tell you to just keep driving. Put the pedal to the floor, aliens. Don't even stop here on this dimly lit, sketchy-ass planet, not even for gas, not even for a restroom break. I hear stories about alien abductions, and I can't help but think it sounds like some PBS nature show from the animal's perspective. They pulled me up out of the water, shot me with a dart, and everything was dark. And I woke up on a cold silver bed, and I was poked and prodded and probed, and they shone a bright light in my eyes, and they tagged my ear, and then I woke up back here. The endangered tortoise would tell its friends, and its fellow turtles would uncomfortably change the subject. Go back to eating their crickets and leaves like nothing happened. My mother-in-law still says my late husband's name in her prayers. She offers to the superior beings in the sky she believes in, legions of angels in service to the three-headed deity she adores. She observes the signs, assuring her that he is still with us, silently hovering over us. I don't know what to make of that, so I changed the subject. But truth be told, I too sometimes speak to the sky. I recite for him poems I have written about love and water. His eyes were the color of the sea, wide and glassy as he told me phantasmagorical stories of the wonders he had seen and believed.
I was waiting for Paul to move, but it was, I can screw everything up. And speaking of screwing things up, Paul, I don't need it right now, but I'll need it before the next time. I left my set list down there underneath the bench. My set list, or that little notebook. You can, okay, thank you. The man was on Broadway, and he's doing this. Pretty embarrassing. Thank you, sir. So I'm working on a group of poems about faith, or belief, actually. And these are 3 poems from that maybe collection someday. First one's called Mission Implausible. Most people hate it when Mormon missionaries show up to their house, but I just wait. Mission Implausible. 2 days after any hard summer rain in South Texas, a pestilence of pests come to life. And so it was that Saturday. 2 Mormon elders knocked on my door. 2 kids plagued by mosquitoes and sweltering heat. Their shirts, once white, turned pink with a mixture of bloody, swatted mosquitoes and sweat. So I invited them in for ice water and DEET. The elders, Peach and Fuzz, sat and drank. But dedicated as they were, they soon got down to business and asked if I had any questions about their faith. So I asked, how is it that no archaeological evidence of the lost tribes of Israel have ever been found in central New York? Elder Fuzz replied, we now believe that the tribes described in the Book of Mormon lived in Central America. Wow, I said, and there was no place to hide some golden tablets until the guy made it to Syracuse? Elder Peach, well-schooled in the apologetics of faith, calmly replied, but you see, sir, that's why it all comes down to faith. And we believe we've been given a way of life that infuses our life with meaning. I wanted to shake them, make them see just how weird it is to believe in magic underwear, or the idiocy of translation by Searstone, or the impossibility that Jesus could quote the King James Bible. How crazy the idea of Eden was somewhere in Missouri seems to the rest of us. Not to mention their belief that God's a 6'2" white guy living on the planet Kala. But as I looked at those blood-stained kids sitting in my air-conditioned living room where my Bible collected dust on a shelf, my need to be right felt petty. So I said, Elder Peach, indeed it does. Can I get you men more water or anything else? They declined, thanked me for my time, and returned to their implausible mission. There used to be a dog track in Corpus. It's closed now. And the mechanical rabbit that lured the greyhounds around the track was named Breezy. Weighing the odds. Before each race at the dog track in Corpus, a deep and disembodied voice boomed, "Here comes Breezy." Breezy being the mechanical rabbit that lured the hounds. The theology I learned early on relied on sticks and carrots, the biggest stick being hell, the carrot, heaven. They say, should a greyhound catch the bait, it will never race again. The allure of the lure ruined forever. The older I get, life after death seems less and less plausible, perhaps even less desirable, forever being so forever long. And so I sit, carrotless, confused, hoping for some wisp of inspiration to guide me towards some fresh spiritual track. And close, I forgot I was going to do a haiku first because Hank did all those haikus. Here's the best haiku I ever wrote. It doesn't fit this at all. I'm going to break the mood. I'm sorry, guys. But it goes like this. Sitting on a golden shitter doesn't make an asshole any prettier. Belief in the absence of faith. I go to an Episcopal church. I was actually the senior warden there, and they were celebrating their 75th anniversary this year. If I should ever find myself riding a horse while not wearing a helmet, and then see a brilliant flash which caused me to fall from my mount, and if I then heard a voice claiming to be God or his only begotten Son call me by name not once but twice, I would set off the alarm on my Apple Watch and have the EMTs who arrive rush me to the nearest emergency room where I plead to be checked for signs of a stroke. I have less faith than the doubting Thomas who believed after he fingered the wounds of the risen Christ. I'm afraid even then I would only 75% buy in and wonder how a magician might pull off the same illusion. And yet I do believe in the work of Allison and Juan and their platoon of volunteers who man a food pantry feeding the hungry the best they can. I believe in the work of volunteers who truck supplies to refugees and those who make stuffed animals from scratch for kids in hospitals. I believe in a church which celebrates the arts in its galleries, readings, and concerts. A church that guides members not to easy answers, but to deeper questions. I believe in sermons that extol abundant love and its virtues. And I believe it's priests like Jonathan, Rick, and Cynthia when they proclaim, all are welcome at this table.
I'm really screwing up.
Zen versus a Texas summer. 19, freshly heartbroken, weary of the human world, and seeking a deeper mystical understanding of the universe. I formed a vague desire to be one with nature. Dressing as close to naked as I could manage, wearing only tank top, short shorts, flip-flops, I drove out to our leased ranch, a few stringy cows grazing, down a faded dirt road till the road disappeared, then walked till I couldn't see my car anymore. Couldn't hear anything but bird song and cow grunt. I found a cedar tree to sit under in the dirt, pulled out Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance, and tried to get lost in philosophical journeying. The sweat began dripping in my eyes almost immediately, as 1,000 cicadas resumed their unholy screech. A horsefly buzzed looking for purchase on my exposed soft skin. A pesky mosquito droned in my damp ear, and a fire ant crawled up my leg and bit me. I realized in an instant of enlightenment the futility of contemplation in a Texas summer, as mind succumbed to flesh, flesh to nature. Mosquito. I think I could make peace with a mosquito if she'd just take a bit of my blood and go about her business. I mean, I have Buddhist proclivities, don't like killing anything. And if the damn mosquito would just take a dainty sip and move on, I'd say, go in peace, little sister. Living's a hard road for all of us. Take what you need and go. But the greedy little bastard always comes back for more, always. And so at some point, itching all over my ankles and wrists and neck, I'll start lying in wait for the little fucker. And if I'm luckier than she is, splat, I'll crush her dead. Make her little more than a dirty, bloody stain on my leg or arm. Contemplate once again how much capitalism and mosquitoes have in common. Genesis, book 19, verses 30 through 38. At age 10, desirous of being a good Christian, I set myself the task of reading the Bible from cover to cover. Taking the giant family book bound in white calfskin, gilt-edged, Renaissance cherubim and seraphim dancing around the cover, I opened the heavy tome and began to read. The creation stories I knew well, and the garden tale with snakes and breasts. I plowed on through Abel and Cain and Noah and his ark, Abraham killing his son, then not. Mostly surprised at how short these stories were, that had always stood so tall in church sermon. But what brought me to a screeching halt was the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And not because those fabled sin cities were destroyed in fire and brimstone, this much I knew well. But it was Lot and his daughters fleeing the burning cities that ruined the Bible for me for all time. I was prepared for Lot's wife, the one who couldn't leave sin behind, to turn to salt. Always vaguely convinced she somehow deserved it, the little in the text confirmed that. No, it was when Lot's daughters got him drunk and laid with him. I think that was the word used, that I had to stop. Even my naive 10-year-old self knew what laid really meant. I didn't know, still don't know what to do with that. Lot, one of the good guys, doing something that only the worst would do. And for this transgression, not only not getting turned to salt, nor destroyed by fire from the heavens, but just getting himself off with his daughters and nary a peep from you-know-who. Be a cannibal for the Lord. This is a story told to me by Joy Brown. Howie. I shamelessly stole it. I just stole it. And I told her I stole it, and she said, well, at first she didn't respond to my message for like 2 days, and I thought, oh, she hates me.
No, I had to ask.
Right?
Because I was the one who said it, so I had to ask.
I was so worried, and I wrote her a second time, and I was like, I destroyed the poem, all evidence of it, it'll never be read again, it's gone. That was a lie, but anyway, she said, no, Hank, I always said it's fine, take it, run with this one. Thank you, Joy. The wife was away, and I passed the time dolorous before the TV when my dog sat on the remote and discovered a televangelist. As I reached to change the channel, I was struck by something the slick-haired man said. You must, he said, be a cannibal for the Lord. And I was stunned as I released the control and flopped back on the couch, pondering these bizarre and shocking words. We must be cannibals for the Lord. Yes, I thought, rather than smugly, glibly, apathetically just eating and drinking our Lord, this man was saying we must eat each other. Or maybe that wasn't what he was saying, but I struggled with this fascinating new angle on religion, wondered briefly how on earth it would bring in any money for Reverend Slick standing there, but in love with the metaphorical possibilities. And that's where I was when my wife returned to look at shock and horror on her face at what she caught me watching, as I blushed as if caught masturbating. I quickly explained what Reverend Slick had said, saw her step back in confusion and mild glimmering interest. Then we both turned to the screen as the preacher said again, this time more clearly, you must all be accountable to the Lord. And my heart fell, and my wife smirked as I realized this dude wasn't saying anything new. Just the usual shit.
Nice. All right, it's called Island. No man is an island, they say, but that's wrong. Everyone is an island. We dream alone, die alone, solitary, yet surrounded by the sea, a lover which playfully flings itself over your shoulders, licking your unguarded edges, intruding into your lagoons, the rising tides tightening her embrace from time to time. Everyone is an island, a place where weary birds may take their rest in the tangle of your outstretched arms, birds which may fly away and return to drop bits of driftwood onto your upturned palms so that you may become a pedestal lifting up a song. Everyone is an island, a place where endangered creatures might crawl up onto your lap to bask in the sun, warming their cold blood, a place where they might bury their treasure, eggs fertilized and filled with the future and possibilities and potential held safe and secret inside of you until the miraculous emergence. Everyone is an island, a place where exotic flowers bloom in the moonlight, where strangely shaped and brightly colored fruits dangle heavy with juice and sweet, tender flesh, just begging to be peeled bare, coaxed open at peak ripeness, exploding with flavor and fragrance. Everyone is a wonderland which perhaps no one will ever explore. Have you, forlorn, stood lonely on the rocky shores of yourself, eyes fixed upon the horizon, waiting for a ship, a savior, a rescue, an escape? Have you lain in the sand, sunburnt and starved for another's attention, validation, direction? Have you let the vines grow over, the underbrush tangled and thick and heavy enough to block out all of that golden light? You, who consider yourself deserted, undiscovered, inscrutable, even dangerous, look inward. Call into the darkness, answer what echoes back. Build sandcastles, Boil the water until it is pure enough to drink. Forage for memories. Collect them in a knotted scarf you will never wear again, salvaged from luggage, now useless. Arrange shells and broken coconut husks into letters spelling your own name in 10-foot font, punctuated with flaming torches and bits of glass and metal repurposed from the wreckage that brought you here. Light a bonfire and dance around it. Write your dreams on any scrap of paper you can find. Fold it into a bottle and fling it as far as you can. So that poem is about self-discovery. I'm going to throw in a little song, which is more taking that metaphor for this country. We are clearly having a little trouble seeing ourselves. There's been more than one effort at revising history, so I am making little songs about history. Black history is American history, is Black history. We're all one thing. There's no pulling it apart now. So this is a song written on an article that talks about all the inventions by people in America. Y'all wouldn't have no peanut butter, jelly all lonely on the dry white bread. The blood banks, cataracts, or open heart surgery, or Henrietta Lacks, they might all be dead. Y'all wouldn't have no cell phone, microphone. Y'all wouldn't have no phones that ring, electric guitars with pedals and pickup. Y'all wouldn't have a song to sing. Y'all wouldn't have this country. Lordy, where would you be? Y'all wouldn't have no jazz, no bebop, hip-hop, or R&B. Y'all wouldn't have a scoop for the ice cream refrigerator trucks to bring it to your town. Y'all wouldn't have American mac and cheese or Uncle Nearest recipe to wash it down. Yeah, I'm talking about old Jack Daniels. Y'all wouldn't have no buffalo wings, thin and crispy, crunchy. Potato chips couldn't dip in Hidden Valley Ranch dressing. Y'all wouldn't have this country. Lordy, where would you be? Y'all wouldn't have no jazz, no bebop, hip-hop, or R&B. Now I'm not even talking about who built what, whose blood and sweat and tears built industries up. But who else could show you how the Bill of Rights guaranteed to everyone their civil rights? Y'all wouldn't have this country. Lordy, where would you be? Y'all wouldn't have no jazz, no bebop, hip-hop, or R&B. I said y'all wouldn't have no jazz, no country and western, down home blues, no rock and roll, no Rolling Stones, no Elvis, no Beastie Boys, or Eminem Flow, no gospel wail, no backbeat slap, no slang for the teenagers talking trash, no swag, no cash money, bag it up, no single ladies, older lady dance from the waist up, hands, jazz hands, no jazz, no bebop, hip hop, or R&B.
I'm going to end with 5 older poems, short poems from Atlas Size and Hamlet of the Hamlet Estate Bill. McDemption. Against my doctor ordered low-fat, low-sodium diet, I sat choking down a quarter pounder extra value meal as a bag lady returned her fries a second time. She stuttered her anger at a zit-speckled kid until a manager arrived to stand behind the counter. The summoned man searched for meaning in her barrage of spit and phonies. He apologized and explained he wasn't sure what she was getting at. Agitated even more, she tried to reply, but got stuck on the letter B for so long, I thought she might break out into a doo-wop song. Finally, she said, "Browner." I watched the man's face. I expected him to say, "Look, lady, this ain't the Ritz, it's a freaking McDonald's." But instead, he took the fries and said, "Let me see what I can do." As he walked away, she grinned. And maybe it was all the salt I had ingested, but I swear the whole place got a little brighter. There's a little loudness from my dad. It's called Why Theology and Economics Don't Mix. As soon as we got back to the car, our father always asked, "So what you get?" Meaning we better produce something pilfered from the just visited restaurant. Doggy bags didn't count, but a shrimp fork or juice glass, spoon, napkin, or if nothing else, packs of sugar or crackers would do. My mother never played along. She voiced her disgust, to which Dad replied, "Nuts, it defrays the cost." I hadn't thought about these petty thefts for years. Then this Sunday at Mass, the priest preached on the text about how the apostles met a stranger on the road to Emmaus, how they invited the man to dine with them, and how it wasn't until the bread had been broken and the stranger disappeared that they recognized the Lord. And I began to wonder, just how often did Jesus skip out on the check? I was going to say my friend, but in this audience, I really should say our friend Ken Hayda used to always say, "Ed, why don't you write a poem about a fish?" I don't know why he said that, but he would. And I know nothing about fish, but I worked as a librarian for many years in Corpus Christi, and I live in a town, not that I'm bragging, called Sinton, Texas. It was just 30 miles north of Corpus, and I'd have to drive across the Portland Causeway every day. And one day I saw a fish doing something very strange, and the fish was a black drum. Out of our depths. They would think me crazier than they already do, so I don't tell my friends that one day after work, while I crossed the bay on the Portland Causeway, a fully grown and squirming black drum flew past my windshield a few inches from my face. I don't tell them that for a split second as it flew through my view, our eyes met, as my mouth, just like the jaw of the flying fish, hung agape. Nor do they tell them, and I am certain for that one moment, the drum and I shared the same thought. The great ontological question, what the fuck? And I shouldn't tell you that a few days after the odd encounter, I saw an osprey struggling to lift a writhing fish over the roofs of 3 lanes of speeding cars. For we both know just because you solve a riddle doesn't mean you know the answer. And, I'm really used to giving these readings to college kids, getting extra credit. 2 poems left, people.
How much extra credit do you get?
See me afterwards and we'll talk about it. This is the title poem from Atlas Size. It's called Lighten Up. And the publisher of the book, Paul Bowers, is here tonight. And thank you, Paul. And he was the only editor I think I've ever worked with who, honestly, I felt made a book better for his efforts. And so I really appreciate the man. Lighten up. You don't have to be Atlas to know the world is a heavy place. If the meek be blessed, I ask, what of the belligerent, the alpha dogs who bite and claw, stepping on others all the way to what they see as success, unburdened by the man? Lighten up. You don't have to be Atlas to know the world is a heavy place. If the meek be blessed, I ask, what of the belligerent, the alpha dogs who bite and claw, stepping on others all the way to what they see as success, unburdened by the pains of conscience? By adding to the burden, piling on, they do nothing more than aid gravity's mindless force that crushes the life out of us all a bit quicker than it would leave on its own. No, I believe the real trick, the only true human accomplishment, is to make the world a lighter place. Start small, pat a slouching back, hand out a compliment, dry a tear, share a smile or a laugh, create some art, lift a soul, even if it's just your own, or better yet, let your work reach a friend or two. Or go all out like the saints. Open your heart wide. Feed the hungry. Cure the sick. Visit the lonely. Befriend justice. And reap the blessings. Listen for the sigh of Alice. Started with a love poem, so we're going to end with a love poem. Why matter? Why matter? The more I think about the size of the universe in relation to the size of the earth, in relation to the size of each of us, I have a hard time thinking anything can matter that consists of such little matter. And yet, there is a woman with green eyes who makes me forget the long odds with a certain look and a certain smile, and can make me stop thinking and start living as if there is so much that really does matter.
It's not easy to follow Alan Berecka either. Tending the boxes. I scoop the litter boxes most mornings. I admit it's not the greatest job, but it has to be done. And being a poet, I can't help but think in metaphor. Digging for gold is an obvious path to follow, as I carefully dig with my shovel through the clay to find little deposits of, well, that's where that particular metaphor breaks down. But I still use a prospector's voice in my head sometimes as I worry through my labors. On calm mornings, though, I think of myself as a Zen gardener. I clear away what mars the overall effect, the unsightly products of cat digestion, the reminders that no matter how beautiful the food is going in, it always turns to shit in the end. We're doing philosophy. And I dutifully remove the dried up remnants of urine and feces until only the gray clay litter remains, pristine again. And I use my tiny shovel to smooth it down to a flat plane, circling the square box, each pass returning the box closer and closer to its original state, the chaotic universe ordered again for a day, until the necessary movements of life rile things up again, and I must return with my shovel to smooth them back to where it all began. And I'll end with a long one. The murder of the chair. I look carefully up and down the street to be sure no neighbors are watching. The chair has sat in our garage our entire time together, worn out, dirty, nothing but foam where the seat should be. My wife always said she would get it recovered, that it was her favorite chair, no other chair ever as comfortable to read in, to nap in. How could I know if she was right? The chair, as long as I'd known it, was never in a fit state for companionship. Our big move north to a beautiful but much smaller house means that many things have not made the cut. We hauled trailer load after trailer load to our new house, to a storage shed, to the dump. I'm alone at the old home now, with what little that's left, some of which will go with me north, some of which will be given away, the rest will be shoved in our green bin and hauled off. The chair had survived all previous attempts to discard it. My wife's sweet sentimental heart could not part with it, and so it sat there in the garage while objects around it are slowly thinned away. I don't know what to do with it. I'm tired of looking at it. It's in my way. I'm constantly moving it here or there, putting things on it, taking things away. Tomorrow is trash day. The bin is still half empty. Today, I decided, is the day. I pull out my Sawzall, not sure if I should use the wood blade or the metal go with wood. I start to cut into the chair. It doesn't make a sound, it doesn't even whimper, just stoically takes all I give it. I go for an arm first, hit some staples and maybe a nail, but I get it cut. Have to use a box cutter blade to cut the old fabric, though it mostly falls apart. I take the other arm. Then I go for the wing back. I go down the middle and it falls apart like inverted wings taking flight, but in opposite directions toward the ground. The seat and legs prove toughest of all. I try a middle cut, but it's full of complicated springs that get in my blade's way. I contemplate a metal blade, but decide to cut around the springs. I have to take my box cutter to split what's left of the old dirty fabric. It doesn't want to give. I almost slice myself trying to get it cut, as if my blood might be required for this sacrifice. But I get it cut, and split into 4 or 5 or 6 pieces, which barely fit in the bin, but they fit. I glance up and down the street to see if there have been any witnesses. I shove the chair in the bin, but a leg and part of a wing are sticking out. I push the bin into the garage to hide the dismembered body until tomorrow morning, when I'll sneak it out early before the sun has risen to reveal all of the past night's sins. I clean up the mess on the ground, staples, fabric, foam, bits of wood. I look once more up and down the street, satisfy myself no one saw the deed, close the garage door, head inside to clean up. I'm sweating like I just ran a mile. I look into the mirror as I lather my hands. I'm surprised to see the brow locked in furrow, the eyes a bit mad and desperate. I look as if I just committed a murder. I feel a strange sort of guilt. The chair was more complicated than I could have imagined. It was no simple chair. It was a feat of engineering. And without so much as a goodbye, I slaughtered the thing to rid myself of detritus, to clear my space of an eyesore, to move on to the dump, something I was no longer willing to take responsibility for. It will be gone tomorrow. All evidence erased. I'll tell my wife someone took it, so she'll sleep easier, thinking the chair found someone to appreciate it, as she had always done. I'll bury my guilt. I'll tell myself it was for the best, that I was at the end of my rope with this move and something had to go. We live in a culture of waste. I've thrown away many things that gave me a twinge of guilt, for their perceived value, for the massive waste buried beneath us and flushed into our oceans. I'll get over this, but it nags me, and I'll probably write about it, and I'll probably read it somewhere, and then my wife will know the truth.
Looking at her face, now she knows. That's good. That's right. Thank you guys. Okay, the only reason I don't freak out about following is because I've changed my idea about it. I feel like y'all have created this beautiful big wave that I get to surf all the way to the end. And man, quite a wave it was. You guys are fantastic. Thank you. All right. So last two are what I think it's all about. I think that is the theme for this round. What's it all about, Alfie? OKC Zoo Amphitheater, August 31st, 2024. Love read the big block letters on the stage of the outdoor amphitheater as the Flaming Lips played Oklahoma City. Hometown band made good, then came back like rock and roll hobbits with pockets full of dragon treasure. We had all been on an adventure with them, with each other, on our own, all alone, but then we were together on blankets in the grass like magic carpet rafts on the sloping green, tilting toward the love-filled stage, slowly easing down or climbing up, holding aloft our cups and cans, a toast to our heroes, but also stretching, for the first time valuing the kind of seating that has your back. They played songs from 25 years before, like it was yesterday. Loud guitar jangles sailing on a wave of synth seafoam joy, following the lighthouse gleam in the eyes of our friends, beckoning back to when we were young, before flesh folded like origami granting wishes, before gray flyaways and glass prisms boxed in our eyeballs like crates containing the ever smaller fine print of liner notes ribboning big cardboard envelopes of vinyl spin and pop. We were dancing, more like swaying, bouncing, twisting, reaching. There was joy, not the youthful joy of a world just beginning, but the dizzying, heady sensation of riding the tilt-a-world. The lift and fall, stomach flip, pull and shove, surfing waves of gravity. Head swiveling left and right, hair in the mouth, hair in the eyes, frantically searching for the blurred figures of loved ones standing just outside the barrier, waiting to come around again so that you can flail all your love at them each time you spin by. I'm going to finish with this one because right now I feel like this is the one that should be, printed in my obit, I think. The Titanic goes down. That's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, they say, as the band played on. These activities are depicted as exercises in uselessness, a bit of upkeep, a glimmer of loveliness, a moment of mirth as the boards beneath their feet slid ever further into oblivion. But was it really useless? The boat was going down, regardless. How else should those precious last moments have been spent? Running and screaming, crying, lamenting the inevitable? It was simple math. How many rowboats? Seats divided by survivors. It was simply madness. Men threatening and bribing their way into escape, slipping loose the bounds of shame, stepping over ladies and the babes cradled in their arms. Better to find something better to do. 20 minutes or so. A prayer is done in 2. Better to look death in the eye, calmly. A melody may soothe the savage beast, the beating in the breast, last breaths pulled long and extended in song. What better way to face the grave, to grace the grave, than to play? They died as they lived, making music, clinging to every bit of beauty, slow beat of a heart giving all that it's got until the very last. So may it be with me. May I go down smiling, satisfied, sweetly singing, while slowly sinking into the sea.